We have the privilege of having Kriss Mukenge. Kriss is a business consultant, the author of a new book, Do It Like the Master, 7 Keys for Unlocking the Best in You. Could you please briefly describe your work there?
I'm very fortunate that I don't have a typical work day. I work on varied and rather dynamic projects. So I don't really have a typical work day. But I must say that every work day for me begins by focusing on the objectives that I want to get out of that day. And I focus on the outcomes I want to see. And then at the end of every work day, I reflect briefly on what that day was and what I can learn from it.
How do you plan this work you do? What are your personal skills that assist this process?
Well, planning is important. Planning your work day is important. The outcomes that you want to achieve, what you want to get at the end of the day, must remain the most important thing. And so I always focus on the outcomes because that leads everything. But also I factor in everything that I know will happen. So all the known variables, I factor them into my plan. But I've also learned to factor in the unknown variables, to allow the unknown variables to happen. That allows me to remain open and adaptable. So if something unexpected happens, I'm still able to go for what I plan to do without losing focus. Another important skill that I learned is to stay focused on what is important versus what is urgent. So during your day there will be things that are urgent, but you have to stay focused on what is important.
Do you have interest outside of work? How do you accommodate these?
Yes, of course. I have a few interests out of work. I've got a few hobbies. For example, I love meeting interesting people. I love discovering new ways of life, new cultures. And I'm fascinated with people. I also love reading great books and watching great movies. Another hobby I have is walking alone in nature. So yeah, these are the few hobbies that I have amongst others. How do I accommodate them in my day is I plan to do them. That's the only way I can do them. You have to plan to do them. Sometimes it's difficult, but usually it's possible.
Do you believe that hard work is the key to success?
Hard work is certainly a key ingredient in being successful. And I believe that the most successful people have 3 main ingredients behind their success. I'm going to list them very quickly. The first one is that very successful people have a winner's attitude. Attitude for me is the most important ingredient to success. In other words, you need to have the attitude that you will work really hard no matter what, that you focus on your work, that you're not going to spare any effort. That's number one. And behind the winner's attitude is also the fact that you should not allow anything to deter you. Despite the obstacles, you have to go forward. If you fall, you've got to stand up and carry on. That's the winner's attitude. The second thing that successful people have is that they play to their strength. They discover that they're strong in a certain area. And when they play to their strength, they actually excel, right? And so a lot of people don't understand what strengths are. Strengths are not necessarily the things that you are very good at. So your strengths are the things that energize you when you do them and that you can enjoy doing over and over again. And naturally, you will become good at doing those things. Now, what's important is the energy that you put in when you're doing those things. And so they become your strengths. The third ingredient is that they are great at handling people. Highly successful people know how to read people really well and they also know how to influence them positively. So these are the three things: winner's attitude, playing to your strength, and number three, being able to handle people effectively.
How has work built and shaped your character?
Work has always been an important part of my life, and work taught me how to be resilient. Work taught me how to keep moving despite obstacles. It taught me to be strong under tough circumstances. And work has also taught me to deal with difficult people. I've had to deal with difficult people in my career, and yes, work has built that ability to deal with people.
Would you say that work has an impact on one's destiny?
Absolutely. Work is certainly linked to our destiny. You know, this is a very interesting question. I'll tell you why. Because a lot of people don't understand the difference between your job and your soul's work. Let me explain that very quickly. Your job is something that you do for your sustenance and for your survival. Okay, so you go to your job to get a salary, you work, you spend your energy, you give of your skills, and you get a remuneration in return. That's a job. Okay, and it's important. On the other hand, you have your soul's work. Your soul's work is what you do out of your calling. It's what you're called to do. You do it from your heart, and it engages the deepest part of you. Okay? And so, sometimes your job will not necessarily align to your soul's work. Okay? Sometimes you're going to have to do both in parallel. But the ideal is to bring your job and your soul's work together. That's the ideal. When your soul's work become a source of provision for you. And the moment you're able to do that and stay focused on your soul's work, you're certainly fulfilling your destiny.
If I said how a person spends their time is as important as how they spend their money, how would you respond?
I would say that how you spend your time is more important than how you spend your money. This is because your time, the money, you can recover. You know, you can overspend, say, on Christmas time or on a holiday, but you can recover that money. But your time, you can never recover. If you waste your time, it's gone forever.
What would life without work mean to you?
Phew, I don't know. Probably unbearable. Well, I can't imagine what that would be, life without work. But at the same time, I think we need to think a bit broader about what life means and what work means. But the two are very deeply, I would say, intertwined and interlinked.
How important is your health to you in the execution of your work?
Well, health is very important. Just imagine the days when you have the flu and you have an important assignment to do. Then you realize how important health is. And yet the problem is that a lot of us neglect our health until something tragic happens. And we shouldn't. And so health is really important in doing your work correctly.
What do you do to remain healthy?
Well, to remain healthy, I try to eat well. I try to sleep enough, not too much, just enough. And I also try to exercise, to stay active. But also, very importantly, I try to have a stress-free life. because stress is a great source of illness and disease. And a lot of people don't know that. You have to lead a stress-free life. You have to try at least.
Kriss Mukenge, thank you very much for your time. Do it like the master. 7 keys for unlocking the best in you. And good luck for the release of the book.
Thank you very much.